This week I'm going to take a spruce 4x4 and turn these Christmas trees. Please stay tuned to see how this was done. Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it. If you like what you see here, please subscribe and provide a thumbs up. This week I'm going to turn a Christmas tree. It's getting that time of year. I'm going to do the video both in real time and some of it will be sped up as indicated, but I'm going to show the complete process start to finish. I'm not cutting out any video. Here you're also seeing that I'm just rounding up a 4x4 piece of wood that I bought, and this wood is softwood. Softwood does not cut well. It's much easier and you can get a much cleaner surface with hardwood. But a 4x4 out of hardwood would have been extremely expensive, so I'm using softwood. Here you can see that I'm sped up and I'm showing you just the rounding up process. And here you can also see that the surface is not very good, but at this point I just want to make it round. I'll worry about getting a better surface in the next step of the process. And I can tell, even before stopping the lathe, generally if it's round. And as I get closer to round, you can see here, the surface does get much better. In the beginning, the tool will bounce because it's not round, but once it gets round and you can maintain a consistent contact, then the surface will get better. Here I'm just starting to make some marks on the piece of wood, indicating the top of the tree and also where the stem is going to be. And you'll see this start to take shape in a moment. So from this point, I'm just tapering down from the bottom being on your left, and I'm going to taper that down to the tip, which is on your right. So before I start cutting out the branches, I'm just going to make it conical shaped and just tapered again from the bottom of the tree up to the top. And here that's a pretty good surface. It's fairly smooth, nothing like we saw before. Apologize for my head being in the way here. Now I'm just taking a scraper and going over the surface again just to get it a bit smoother before I start the next step. That pencil line you see is the base of the tree, and I'm just cutting that material down to indicate where the stem is going to be. At this point, I'll leave it a bit thicker just in case I get a catch. If I make it too thin, I don't want it to break. So for my tree, I'm going to divide it into 4 equal sections. So I'll mark the middle and then mark the middle of each of the remaining sections, which will give me 4 total sections to my tree. And then I'm going to take my parting tool and just make a groove where each of those pencil lines are. Again, I didn't realize my head was in the way until I went to look at the video, so I do apologize. You'll notice that I have my finger up along the side of the tool, and the reason I'm doing that is I'm using that as a depth gauge. I want all 3 of these lines to be approximately the same depth, so I'll have some uniformity in my tree. And you can see that here. I'm just going to plunge straight in until my finger makes contact with the tree itself, and then I'll know the depth is the same. Now at this point, all I'm doing is connecting the dots. So I'm just going to use my bowl gouge and scoop it out until I get to the bottom of where I just cut. And I'll do that in all 4 boughs of the tree. The very top of the tree, I left a little bit beefier, and I did that intentionally. Again, just in case I have a catch, I don't want that material to be too small at the top. I want to have as much support as I can. Now the bowl gouge is good at removing a lot of material and giving me a fairly good surface, but it doesn't give me a nice, crisp, clean edge at the bottom of those boughs, for example. So for that, I'm going to use my scraper and also my parting tool just to make that cut a little bit cleaner and sharper. Here the video is at real time. And again, a lot of people ask me, how long does it take? This tree ended up taking about 20 minutes. The view is sped up again, and I'm just taking now down to the final dimensions on the base of the tree, down at the trunk. And now we begin sanding. One advantage of softwood, although it doesn't cut well, it does sand very, very easily. So you can sand it and get a pretty good surface fairly quickly. And for this, I just used paper and did almost all my sanding with paper. Here I'm just rounding over the bottom of the boughs a little bit, just to give it a rounder edge so it's not quite so sharp. And then I'll come back again and hit that with sandpaper. Here I'm just using sandpaper, stopping it frequently to take a look, and just checking any final details. Doing a lot of work right at that transition point between the bough and the tree itself. Now that I'm happy with the shape and the cleanliness of it, I will cut off the very top of the tree. That's giving me a bit of additional support. You can see there it just popped off. I'll sand that. Actually, I guess it didn't pop off, it just cracked a bit. I just sawed it off, and then sand the tip of the tree. And I can hold it to give it support as well, just because it's only held at the bottom, but I can hold the tree with my hands as it's spinning to give it a bit of additional support. Now I'll just go to the bottom and take a thin parting tool and cut that off. So I'll just go in there and then finish it off with a saw. And there you go. I have a finished tree. It took, again, I said it took about 20 minutes. And you can see I've done a bunch of other trees the same, and my time has actually improved. So I've gotten it down to about 15 minutes.